bequeath a responsibility onto Abraham and Ismail and tahira, to clean the house. للطائفين, for people who go around it, والعاكفين والركع السجود. Now, based on the common popular understanding, Muslims see the Kaaba as the house that Allah is speaking of here, and Muslims see that that's the place that they should keep going to, and they see that they should take the place of Abraham as a place of prayer. So naturally, that's what's being done from long time, and that is what continues to be done. And of course, Abraham and Ismail were asked to clean the house, and when you talk of cleaning the house, they may understand, well, you take a broom or you take a vacuum and you clean the dust. That's what they do, because that's what the Saudis and the privileged people do every year. If this is your perception, that's what you will do. And that's what you will think Abraham did, that God told Abraham, take a broom or take something and clean this house. Or some people may say, well, you know, there were idols in this house, and there were statues in this house, and therefore make sure there are no physical statues or physical idols in this house. And once you don't have any physical statues in the house of God, then everything is fine. And you can see Muslims adopt that attitude, that in their masjid there is no physical statue, there is no physical idol. They are very much careful about that. And that is your understanding if you take the literal popular translation. And that's all you have. You have nothing else to work on. I can assure you that words in any language, and I gave a hint of this last week, can be taken literally. If you think that this Qur'an came to tell people about basic physical things, and that God's revelation is preoccupied with telling people to even clean the house. If the house has dust, clean it. Then you will see that that's the perception you have. And in my travel with Muslims, generally they are so preoccupied with this physical form of cleanliness. And I mentioned about it last week, to the point of fanaticism. I'm not denying that physical cleanliness is indispensable to life, but I don't see it as the main focus of divine guidance. I see physical cleanliness is the natural result of the intelligence of a human being about his or her personal hygiene and social hygiene. I don't see that as the focus of divine guidance. I see that the words used in the Qur'an, when it speaks about purification, it is speaking of something that is very much more beyond the physical cleanliness. It's speaking of a lofty concept. And also when the Qur'an speaks of impurity, it's not speaking of urine or pus or blood or the carrion. That's not the main focus. And I will demonstrate that to you from the Qur'an itself. Because if all people are so obsessed about that there should be no urine on their clothing, I'm not saying you shouldn't be careful. Urine is an impurity. It's not hygienic. Blood Nobody wants to get contaminated with blood, especially with all the understanding of what can be spread through blood, or carrion, or even the pus that comes out from a wound. So, based on our understanding of words used in the Qur'an, a picture becomes visible. And because Muslims, generally speaking, have bogged themselves down with a physical interpretation of things, you can see these are the main things that are emphasized. That you got to make sure you take a bath, or you got to make sure you take ablution. And that's why you see the masjids, they make sure they provide a lot of taps and facilities for people to wash, because washing is a big thing before you approach this God. There is no teachings, generally speaking, in Muslim communities, here or elsewhere, that emphasize more than anything else that cleanliness is of a higher dimension. And dirt and pollutants are beyond the physical dimension. That while we must keep ourselves and our surroundings hygienically clean, there are other aspects of our being, our personality, that we should be preoccupied with. Along with the physical hygiene, and more than the physical hygiene. And that's why the Qur'an uses an expression. It speaks of a disease. Because of the pollution. The pollution results in disease, in sickness, in illness. Now, do we think God is talking about fever? And God is talking about cold? And God is talking about the spread of bacteria? If your whole vision is physical, that's all you see. But the average human being today is sick. I don't say that everybody has fever, but the sickness is not of a physical nature, while not denying that many human beings are physically sick too. And that is why it is important that you and I cannot just afford to ignore our role to analyze. You can't just, oh, the elders told me this, therefore it's got to be like that. You have got to understand what Allah is all about, what His message is all about. Because it is quite possible if you become so obsessed with physical cleanliness, you go berserk if there's no water, but you are not concerned of the billion other forms of pollutants and uncleanliness that are that are onslaughting human societies, and you're never really concerned about that, because you feel this God is concerned whether you are physically clean. And those who know biology, I can assure you, you can never be absolutely physically free from impurities as the human body is concerned. The human being always has urine inside him, has blood in him, sometimes has pus inside, sometimes has feces inside. So what are we so crazy about? We need to understand that this message came to lift the standard of human being. And if you put a well there and a river there and a bathroom there, and you tell everybody take a bath before you come in,